Okay, so this is all the gear that I actually trust on pretty much every project, the things that I pack on every documentary shoot. If you know me, you know that I'm a young filmmaker aiming to become a documentary filmmaker, specialized in capturing harsh environments. So everything that I bring with me, everything that I use, I have to trust pretty much all the time, because failure is not an option in these environments, and bringing 2 or 3 times the same item as a backup is just not possible. I've just started a new documentary series with the fire department here in Belgium. It's not too far from the studio, so packing things in a suitcase is not the issue this time. However, I have to be nimble and pretty much fit everything in a backpack. So this is everything, and I brought it all on the first day of shooting. Okay, so today is the first day of the documentary project with the fire department, and it's pretty exciting. We're following one person throughout this whole training to become a real firefighter. And so this morning I attended some theory lessons, captured a bit of the classroom experience. Right now I'm charging up my Ronin 4D. And then in the afternoon they're gonna train descending with ropes from buildings, which seems pretty exciting. I didn't need all of it, and I tried to stuff everything in that backpack, making things messy and not organized, and when I needed something, it was really hard to put it back into the backpack. So I want to figure out a system that basically divides this setup in 2 pieces. So that when I am on location, I have just one backpack that's organized, that's easy to use, that can go around places, and I have pretty much everything I need. And then second, I want to have a case with all the extras, things that I can take with me if there's the time or the space to do so, but it's not essential. First up is my DJI Ronin 4D. Obviously, this is a first bag item. This is the 6K version. I bought it about half a year ago and it's been a beast. In these environments, it's not always easy or even possible to set up a tripod or balance a gimbal. That's why having a camera like this is gold to me. I can lock off all the axes and use it in a handheld style, which is what I like to do most often. But if I want a shot to resemble a tripod shot, but I don't have the time or space to do so, I can turn on the gimbal, hold the camera steady, and it will look like a tripod shot. If I want to have a dolly shot, easy. You turn on the 4th axis, do the ninja walk, and it will look super smooth. You can get really creative with this camera, and it's just nice to always have the option to turn on the gimbal or even the 4th axis. This camera has the ability to be a one and done setup or integrate into a huge production with a focus puller, audio guy, first AC, and everything else surrounding it. I think it's a brilliant setup, and it's for sure my favorite piece of gear on this table. For this camera I have 2 batteries. I could bring more, but it would weigh me down a lot. And I think these last quite a while. And in my car I've got the DJI Power 1000, so I can top this thing up at any time during a lunch break. Currently I'm using the Sony E-mount, so I would like to leave this one home, because I've bought the Sigma 16-28, which is basically the same lens. It's insanely sharp, it's lightweight, it fits on the gimbal. So I think I'm gonna sell the DJI one, keep this one, and just use the focus motor to zoom in and out. That way I have a full E-mount workflow and I can leave the DJI DL mount home. Talking about lenses, the 200-600 is for sure a second case item. I'm not always gonna lug this big thing around in my backpack, but having said that, I absolutely love this lens. Whether it's for wildlife, insane compression, or just different perspectives, I love bringing this one with me. You never know when it's gonna be an opportunity to use it. However, it doesn't fit on the Ronin 4D like this, because it needs a lot of support, being such a heavy lens. So maybe in the future I have to invest in the Ronin 4D flex cable to be able to use this one with this thing. And then I've got the Tamron 28-75. I guess this combination of focal lengths is the most used industry-wide, and also for me, I use it pretty often. But having said that, I love the look of a wide-angle lens much more. Then when I'm not using the DJI Ronin 4D, so for example for B-roll videos, behind the scenes images, stills, or anything else, as a B camera maybe during an interview, I use my Sony A7 Mark IV. Why the A7 Mark IV? Well, I've made a video entirely on this camera and why I bought it here, so you can check it out. But in short, it's a genius hybrid camera, which is really good for stills, pretty much okay for video, and since I don't have the cash to buy a dedicated stills camera or an FX3, this is a great in between. This is the Sony, I forgot what it's called, I'll put it right here. Microphone, on the back you've got a dial, so you can choose between all the different modes, whether you want to record what's in front of you, what's behind you, in front and behind, stereo or everything around you. I think when doing documentary, that's a really nice feature to have. Yes, it's a bit expensive, but it doesn't have any cables, pretty compact, and I just love the features. So for me, this is a no-brainer. Then obviously you need a V&D filter. Mine is from Nisi. This thing has been to Africa 4 times, to Japan, to Iceland, basically everywhere, except from a couple of scratches which are obviously my fault. This thing hasn't let me down once. There's no cross visible, very little color shift, so pretty much the ideal filter. Next to that, I've also got a polarizer. This I like to use mainly when doing photography, to make the skies pop, to make eyes look better, etc. But honestly, I don't use it as much. So this might be a second case item. Rolls of film, always nice to have, but definitely also a second case item. Then my drone, DJI Mavic 3 Classic. I've also made a video separately on that one. Up here, I've got pretty much no negative things to say about this drone. I absolutely love the thing to bits. I will try to fit it in my main bag because I use it all the time. Yes, it's a bigger drone. It's actually, where I live in Belgium, pretty much the limit of what you can fly with your A1, I believe, diploma, which is basically only a theoretical exam you can do online. Anything heavier than this drone and you will need to do some practical lessons. So I think when I step up to a heavier drone, it will be time to buy an Inspire. The Inspire 3 basic package is looking really tempting, but let's hold off for that for now. This drone has been amazing. Then I've got a SmallRig 99 watt-hour battery. This thing I used to use with my previous setup as a V-mount, but now it's basically a glorified power bank. I use it with lights, with cameras, it just comes in handy all the time. Headphones to monitor audio when recording. These are the Sony WH-1000XM4s. Horrible name, everyone knows that, but they're great headphones. And now that the Mark 6s are out, which to me basically sound the same, I bought the XM4s with a nice discount after my previous pair got stolen in Zambia. Then a couple of boring items, but still very important to me. Obviously this blower, everyone knows this one, but to me it's massively important to keep these things clean. That's the only way they're gonna survive for a long period of time when exposed to salt, sand, ash and other dirty things you don't want in or near your cameras. This thing keeps everything nice and tidy. Then next to it I've got a Peak Design camera strap. I love this thing, but having said that, I'm looking to try something new. This is a harness made by Decathlon. It's actually made for binoculars, but I've tried it a couple of times with the Ronin 4D. It doesn't hold the weight that much, but being elastic compared to the Peak Design strap, it lifts the weight of the camera and doesn't put it on your neck, which it can start to hurt when you use this thing with such a heavy camera. Then another item that in my opinion is way too expensive, but it's such a game changer, is a Calibrite color checker. Now this thing has been super handy so many times. When I've got a multi-camera setup and all the cameras are different brands, I can use this thing to basically even out the playing field. All the cameras look the same, even when I use a tiny camera like the DJI Pocket 3, recording this right now. Then obviously a big power brick with multiple ports, very important. A couple of magic arms, they always come in handy to clamp something to my camera or a camera to the ceiling or to a car or whatnot. Some ND filters for the drone, extra battery for the drone. Yes, I've got a normal remote with my Mavic 3 Classic, because I find the one with the built-in screen to be a bit laggy. It's like a very old Android phone that's basically baked into your remote. However, the new remote with the joysticks that pop up and the screen that pops up, that looks super nice. But it's really expensive. Then I've got a SmallRig Cob light. I pretty much always take this one with me. It's got a built-in battery, it's small, it's just nice to put in the background or even to light a small interview setup with. Personally, I don't own that much lighting equipment yet. It's pretty expensive and I travel pretty light, almost always. So things like this, they really add value to the shoot, but bringing bigger lights is just not always an option. Then right here I've got my Cirrus carbon fiber tripod. This thing has been amazing. Sometimes the legs get a little stuck, but I just have to finesse it a little and they get unstuck again. Can't say much about this tripod. It's pretty sturdy. It's not that expensive within the world of carbon tripods and it doesn't weigh a whole lot. I love this one. And then for my main editing setup, I've got my 2021 MacBook Pro. And yes, this thing is actually almost 5 years old at this point. That's just crazy to me. It's the base model and sometimes it can struggle a little because it doesn't have an insane amount of RAM and it's the M1 Pro, not the M1 Max version of this chip. But actually, even with the DJI Ronin 4D, this thing can hold up pretty well. The screen is also still amazing, keyboard, the speakers are insane, so I've got very little incentive to think about upgrading this thing, so I'm pretty sure I'll hold on to it until something breaks. And then, last but not least, storage. I rely mainly on Samsung T7 Shield SSDs. The price of SSDs is going through the roof, so I'm being very careful with what I store and where I store it. But these are almost always in my backpack. I always take 2 with me because I want to have duplicates of everything, so that when I come home and one is corrupted or lost, the other one can still save the day. These things are supposed to be water resistant, shock resistant, they're extremely fast. I've never had a single issue with one of these. Where these go depends on the project. Often I'm not bringing my laptop and my SSDs with me in my backpack when out shooting, so these things stay at home if it's a one-day project, but when traveling, one goes in my backpack and the other one goes in my check-in luggage, so that when one gets lost, I still have the other one. And then I've got a PGY Tech card holder. Why did I buy this? Well, mainly because this beast takes CF Express cards and I needed a reader for them. And they tend to be pretty expensive and fragile, and I thought I would just lose it on the first day. So I bought this thing. It's a bit bigger, it's sturdy, it's durable as hell, and it can hold up a lot of other cards. I like this thing because it's also water and shock resistant, so whatever cards that I put in here, I know that they are safe, I know where they're at, and obviously it has an SD card and CF Express card reader. And then apparently this little guy, the DJI Pocket 3, decided to call it quits and die on me. So yes, that's technically the last piece of gear, but I don't always bring it on me. I keep buying these small cameras, action cameras, thinking they are perfect for harsh environments. But truth is, I don't always like the image that comes out of it. I think the Pocket 3 is one of the better cameras. I also made a video on it right here. Because it has a larger sensor, it has autofocus and whatnot. But again, it's a bit fragile compared to other cameras, compared to GoPros and whatnot. And also the tiny touchscreen, like other action cameras, it just annoys me because changing settings, checking your exposure and other things, that's just so finicky to do on a little touchscreen, and connecting it to my phone, that I'm not gonna do that every time. It's way easier to just have a camera with buttons to quickly set up and go. I use this one when cycling in Africa because the stabilization is awesome and I think the image quality is way better than a GoPro, but for everything else, I use my main camera and I will find a way to bring it in situations where it shouldn't be. That's it for today's video. If you like adventure, gear, or just my journey as a filmmaker, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!